I've noticed we're losing subscribers. Not the YouTube kind, but the kind that swore they'd be in my life forever. Funny how that works. One day you're surrounded by people who claim to love you, and the next, you're watching them walk away like you were just another phase in their lives. By the way, if you're here, do me a favor, subscribe. It's free, and unlike some people in my life, you won't regret sticking around. I never thought I'd have to face this again. Not after spending 2 decades carefully burying it. But life has a cruel sense of irony, doesn't it? One day, out of nowhere, my past came knocking, literally, and I had to decide whether to open the door or keep it locked forever. When I was just 12 years old, my childhood was ripped away from me. A distant relative committed the ultimate betrayal, leaving me pregnant at an age when I still played with dolls. My deeply religious parents, ever so obsessed with maintaining their pristine image, made it clear I was to carry the pregnancy to term, but no one could ever know. Their solution? Ship me off to my grandmother for my 7th grade year, where I quietly gave birth just weeks after turning 13. I never held the baby. I never wanted to. Instead, I handed her over to what seemed like a loving adoptive family, and with that, I erased her from my life. Or so I thought. For years, I did everything possible to heal. I went to therapy, I built a career, and finally, I met the man of my dreams. At 32, I was living the life I fought so hard to create. Married, pregnant with twins, our miracle babies conceived through IVF. My past was finally just that, the past. Until one day in September when a private investigator called. She had found me. My biological daughter, now 19, had hired someone to track me down. The message was clear, she wanted to meet. I wasted no time making my stance known, no contact. Please leave me alone. But my rejection wasn't enough for her. The letters started coming. The phone calls. She begged, pleaded, insisted. And still my answer remained the same. I wrote her one final letter, wishing her well but firmly stating that I wanted nothing to do with her. I even gave her medical history and a few mementos from my grandmother, small tokens of closure if she chose to see them that way. And yet it wasn't enough. Then, in late November, she escalated. I was at work when she showed up at my front door. My husband answered, and there she was, this stranger, this living, breathing reminder of everything I had worked so hard to leave behind. She demanded to see me. She wouldn't take no for an answer. My husband, ever protective, told her to leave or he would call the police. I wasn't there to witness it, but I can only imagine his shock. To him, she was just some unknown woman who had driven across state lines to stand on our doorstep, demanding something I wasn't willing to give. The internet, of course, had its opinions. Some people called me cruel. Some said I should at least give her a chance. Others accused me of being heartless, of denying her the right to know where she came from. But what they don't understand, what they could never understand, is that her very existence is intertwined with the most horrifying chapter of my life. She is not my daughter. She is not my family. She is the embodiment of trauma I barely survived. I have nothing but sympathy for her. I hope she finds peace, love, and happiness in her life. I hope she builds a future filled with the kind of joy I fought so hard to reclaim for myself. But that future cannot include me. I choose to move forward. I choose to protect myself, my husband, and the children I am about to bring into this world. And if that makes me heartless in the eyes of strangers who have never walked in my shoes, so be it. Now that I have made her aware of the details surrounding her conception, I hope she can better understand why I make the choices I do. I am someone who places a lot of value on having my space and boundaries respected. I don't feel I owe her anything. I was a child myself when she was born, and we are both victims of the same man who forced us into this situation. I do not view her as my daughter, nor do I see myself as her mother. We are biologically tied as parent and offspring and connected by a series of extremely traumatic events that neither of us had a choice in. I did not feel any familial bond toward her while I was forced to endure an unwanted pregnancy. I did not feel it when I was forced through a traumatic birth. And, to be brutally honest, I do not feel it now. I wish her well and I hope she finds peace, but I do not, in any way, feel like a parent to her. I don't know her trauma, just as she will never truly know mine. I don't believe she has malicious intent, but she is clinging to an idea of me that does not exist. Update asterisk. When I was 13, I was forced to carry a pregnancy to term after being raped by a family member. The child was placed in a closed adoption. Recently, she initiated contact, seeking a reunion, but I declined. Despite this, she showed up at my home twice. I reluctantly agreed to a phone call with her today, and I now know without a doubt that I do not want her in my life. As I had previously stated in comments, I ended up writing her another letter, explaining the circumstances of her birth and why I do not want contact. I included a few watercolors I had painted with my grandmother while pregnant and an extensive packet of family medical history. I sent it overnight via FedEx to the address I had for her. Unfortunately, late last night she showed up at my house again. This time I was home. She pounded on the door, screaming. My husband and I initially tried to ignore it, but then we received a phone call from our neighbors warning us that they would call the police if we did not answer. I didn't want to start Christmas Eve by getting someone clearly in distress arrested, so my husband handled it. He spoke to her through our home's doorbell system, but when that didn't calm her, I locked myself in the bathroom while he went outside to speak to her. I could hear him yelling, which was unpleasant but effective. She finally left. This morning, I received a phone call from her adoptive parents. They apologized for never fully disclosing the truth to her about how she was conceived. They also admitted to funding the private investigator who tracked me down, hoping it would lead to a happy reunion. They told her she was the result of rape, but they lied about the circumstances. They claimed my parents forced me to give her up and that I had wanted to keep her, that if I had been older, I would have chosen to raise her. These were all lies. It seems she was raised in a similarly conservative religious environment as I was, which likely influenced her beliefs and expectations. I agreed to speak to her one last time over the phone, with her adoptive parents facilitating, but only under the condition that she leave me alone afterward. I made it clear that if she ever came to my home again, I would pursue legal action and call the police. She asked me if I loved her the way I love the children I am pregnant with now. I told her I have love for her as a human being, but I will not lie and say I feel like a mother to her. She is only 5 years younger than my own husband. I do not feel a maternal connection to her, but I do care for her in the way that I care for any fellow human being. She asked if I wished I had an abortion. I told her the truth, that at the time, I desperately wanted one and that my trauma would have been significantly reduced if I had been allowed to terminate the pregnancy. However, I also told her that I do not wish away her existence now that she is here. She asked about my faith, if I still practiced the conservative religion I was raised in. I told her no, that I am not even Christian. She asked about my political beliefs, specifically if I support murdering babies. I told her I am 100% pro-choice, a socialist and anti-capitalist, but that I do not believe being conservative makes someone a bad person. We talked for a while longer, mostly with her asking me questions. I didn't ask her anything about herself because, to be honest, I simply don't care. She asked if I forgave her birth father, if I had any contact with him, and if I would consider visiting him with her. I told her I will never forgive him. I don't believe in the Christian idea that forgiveness is necessary for healing. When she pressed for more information about him, I told her to ask my parents and to take the time to read the letter I had written her. I also gave her mother my parents' contact information. I hope this is the end of it. I can't imagine speaking to me gave her much peace, but I hope she finds whatever closure she was looking for. My husband and I are now considering moving so that she can never find us again. I feel no relief having spoken to her. If anything, I am more certain than ever that I never want to see her in person. She seems deeply broken, and while I hope she finds healing, I do not want her in my life. She does not respect boundaries, and she seems like the kind of person I would not get along with under any circumstances. I understand that she has endured her own trauma, and I sincerely hope she finds a way out of the religious community that raised her, unless of course she is happy there. I don't feel guilty that her life wasn't what she hoped it would be. I do, however, sympathize with her for being raised in an environment similar to mine. I'm glad this is over. I have disconnected my landline and will be changing my cell phone number. I will be restarting therapy in the new year. If she ever comes to my home again, I will call the police. Relevant comments *. Comment 1 *. You did everything possible to help her while maintaining your boundaries. It makes sense now, hearing about the adoptive parents' involvement and their role in creating this situation. They should have never encouraged her to keep pursuing you. I don't think she acted maliciously, she's just responding to the lies she was told. Hopefully as she gets older she will understand. OP*. I don't hate her. She's a scared teenager who needs guidance. But I am not the one who can give it to her. Comment 2 *. Is her birth father in prison? Did he face consequences? OP*. He served 16 years in prison. He raped 6 members of my family in 1 year, including me. Comment 3 *. The adoptive parents failed her. They lied and put her in harm's way by hiring a PI. They should have protected her. OP*. I'm furious with them. I thought they were good people. If I had known the truth, I would have fought harder for better adoptive parents. For now, I am living in a hotel until I feel safe returning home. I have done what I could to be respectful while protecting myself. I am barely holding it together. This is all I can offer her. Despite everything that has happened, I truly hope my biological daughter finds the peace and happiness she deserves. Life has been incredibly unfair to both of us in different ways, but I know healing is possible. I've seen it in myself, in my parents, and in the way people can change and grow when they allow themselves to. I hope that, with time, she will take the truth I've given her and use it as a foundation to build something stronger, whether that means finding comfort in new relationships, seeking the help she needs, or carving out a future where she feels truly loved and secure. Her adoptive parents, though deeply misguided in how they handled this situation, have at least shown that they care about her deeply. I can only hope that moving forward, they recognize their mistakes and work to give her the love and support she actually needs instead of forcing an idea of family that was never meant to be. If they take responsibility, maybe they can repair the harm their lies have caused. As for my own parents, this entire situation has made me realize that I need to have some difficult conversations with them. They've changed so much over the years, and I do believe they are good people now, but the past still lingers. With the help of therapy, I plan to sit down with them and address what really happened back then, the choices they made and the impact they had on me. I don't need them to be perfect, but I do need closure, and I believe they will be willing to give me that. Right now, my priority is my husband, our marriage, and the life we are building together. We've decided to move to a new home, one where I can finally feel safe and at peace, free from the fear of being found again. It's not about running away, it's about protecting my mental health, my boundaries, and the family I am creating. With our babies on the way, I want to be fully present, fully joyful, and fully free to love them without the weight of my past overshadowing our future. I don't know what the future holds for my biological daughter, but I do know this: I want her to be happy. I want her to heal. I want her to find her own sense of belonging, whether that's with her adoptive family, her biological grandparents, or people she meets along the way who truly love and support her. I hope she grows into a strong, independent woman who refuses to let her past define her, just as I have fought to do. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I am closing this chapter of my life for good. There is no more uncertainty, no more fear, no more waiting for the past to come knocking on my door. My story is now mine to write, and I choose happiness, love, and peace. And wherever life takes us, I hope she chooses the same. Life doesn't always give us the endings we expect, but we have the power to choose peace, healing, and the people we surround ourselves with. This story is about survival, boundaries, and the courage to put yourself first, even when others don't understand. It's about breaking cycles, standing firm in your truth, and choosing the future over the past. If there's one lesson to take away from this, it's that healing isn't about pleasing others, it's about honoring yourself. Sometimes family isn't about blood, but about who respects you, who stands by you, and who truly values your well-being. It's okay to walk away from relationships that hurt you. It's okay to say no. And most importantly, it's okay to choose yourself. Does this story resonate with you? Have you ever had to set a difficult boundary, walk away from a painful past, or choose yourself over expectations? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments. Like this post if you believe in the power of healing and boundaries. Share this story to remind others that they are allowed to choose peace. Your story matters and your voice deserves to be heard.